Someone had to put her in her place. Someone had to make it clear that actions always come with consequences. So I decided that someone would be me. It all began last month during one of our HOA meetings. Karen walked straight up to me and said, "Hey, didn't you bother reading the HOA rulebook?" Her voice rang across the room, sharp enough to make heads turn and conversations stop. "Pet spiders aren't allowed here." I snapped my head toward her, completely caught off guard. The truth was, I did own a pet spider named Shadow. Just a small, quiet creature living in a tank on a shelf in my den. No one knew about him, not even my closest neighbor. Yet somehow Karen knew, and the way she announced it made my stomach twist into knots. Was she psychic or something? Did she have hidden cameras tucked under that ridiculous blonde wig? How else could she possibly know about that tiny spider unless she'd been somewhere she absolutely didn't belong? Welcome to Prodigy Tales. Don't forget to like and subscribe for the best HOA drama you'll find. I tried to keep my composure and asked her casually how she found out. She gave a smug smile, crossed her arms over her cardigan, and said, "I'm the HOA president. I know things." A few people laughed like she'd delivered some clever punchline, but I didn't find it funny. It was unsettling. My thoughts started racing. There was no way she could have guessed. That didn't make sense. No, I refused to even finish that thought in my head. I forced a polite smile and told her I'd remove the spider that very night. She nodded like she was granting me mercy. But once the meeting ended, I couldn't shake the unease. The walk back home felt longer than usual. My keys heavy in my hand. I kept glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see her following me. That night, instead of putting Shadow away as I'd promised, I sat in the living room staring at his tank. His 8 tiny legs moved slowly across the glass, calm and unaware. Meanwhile, my chest pounded with growing suspicion. How did she know? Was she bluffing, or had she actually been inside my home while I was gone? Before we go further, drop a comment telling us what country or city you're watching from. Let's see how far this story reaches. A few days later, I dragged myself home from work, my tie loosened and keys jingling in my hand. And right there, standing at the edge of my driveway, was Karen. She didn't even pretend she was just walking by. She stood there with that smug look like she owned the entire street and said, "You still haven't gotten rid of that spider. You really don't want to face the HOA's wrath. Oh, and by the way, your house smells like..." I froze mid-step. Wait a second. What did you just say? She didn't answer directly. Instead, she flashed that same arrogant smile, turned on her orthopedic heels, and strutted away. I dropped my bag instantly, rushed to the front door, and burst inside. The smell didn't matter. I wasn't naive anymore. I slowed my breathing and started scanning everything carefully. That's when I saw it. The spider's tank had been moved slightly. Shadow was fine, but someone had clearly touched it. I leaned in closer and took a deep breath. Perfume. Not just any perfume. The exact scent Karen had been wearing at the meeting. My stomach dropped. I sank onto the couch, my mind racing back through every moment I thought I was imagining things. Small items out of place, doors unlocked when I was certain I'd secured them. It wasn't in my head. It was her. Karen had been coming into my house, snooping around like some intrusive raccoon in a cardigan. The anger hit me all at once. I marched straight to her house and pounded on her door. She opened it with that fake, innocent expression. "Yes? Did you come into my house?" I demanded. Her smile disappeared instantly. "What are you talking about? I have no idea what nonsense you're accusing me of, and accusing your HOA president like that could get you into serious trouble." She leaned in closer, her voice dripping with fake concern. "You should really get rid of that spider before I handle it myself." Then she slammed the door right in my face. I stood there, fists clenched, anger boiling in my veins. That was the moment I decided enough was enough. She wanted to play games? Fine. I was going to finish this in a way she would never forget. If Karen wanted to crawl into my home like a cockroach, then I'd build the perfect trap. After that, I knew talking wasn't going to solve anything. She thrived on control, intimidation, and sneaky tactics. So, if she wanted to break into my home, I'd give her something she'd never forget. That's when I called my old friend Mark, who worked as a welder. I told him I needed a steel cage big enough to hold a person. At first, he thought I was joking and laughed harder than I'd heard in years. But when I explained everything, how Karen had somehow gotten access to my house and kept coming inside to threaten me over a harmless spider, his tone changed. "That's seriously messed up," he said. "But if you're serious, I'll help you." 2 nights later, Mark showed up in his beat-up pickup truck with a welded steel frame in the back. We carried it inside under the cover of darkness so none of the nosy neighbors would notice. The cage looked intimidating, like something out of a survival bunker. For a second, I almost felt guilty. Almost. I placed it in my living room, right where Karen always snooped first. To make sure she couldn't resist, I put Shadow's tank inside and taped a large clipboard onto the cage with the words HOA violations written in thick red marker. It was the perfect bait for her ego. She wouldn't be able to resist the chance to prove she'd caught me. I set up cameras in every corner, double-checked every lock, and waited. My heart pounded so hard it felt like it might ruin the entire plan. Sure enough, the very next day, while I pretended to be at work, Karen let herself into my house. Watching through the live camera feed, I saw her stiff posture and that same entitled expression, like she owned everything around her. Her eyes landed on the cage. "What the hell is this?" she muttered. But curiosity got the better of her. She stepped inside, reached for the spider tank, and in that exact moment, I slammed the lock shut. The expression on her face was unforgettable. Her eyes widened, her mouth dropped open, and her face turned red with fury. She shook the bars, screaming, "You can't do this to me!" I stood just out of her reach, holding up my phone as the cameras captured every second. "Smile for the HOA records," I said with a grin. For the first time, Karen wasn't the one in control. When I finally dialed 911, my tone stayed steady, but my heart pounded like a marching band. "Yes, I'd like to report a break-in. The intruder is contained." The dispatcher asked me to explain further, but I didn't bother going into detail. I simply gave my address and waited. Within minutes, red and blue lights flashed through my windows, lighting up the living room. 2 officers stepped inside, took one look, and immediately burst into laughter at the sight of Karen raging behind steel bars like some exhibit at a zoo. "Sir, want to tell us what's going on?" one officer asked, still trying not to laugh. I pulled out my phone and showed them everything. Every second of footage of her sneaking in, touching my belongings, even mocking my spider. Karen shouted, "This is illegal. He trapped me like an animal. I'm the HOA president. I have authority." But the officers weren't convinced. One of them leaned in and calmly said, "Ma'am, you're under arrest for unlawful entry and harassment." The expression on her face looked like someone had just told her her favorite store was shutting down forever. It was priceless. Back at the station, more details came to light. They discovered she had copied my keys from the previous homeowner, which meant she had been entering my house whenever she wanted. That explained everything. She wasn't just intrusive, she was a real threat. In court, Karen tried to twist the situation into her favor like some bizarre story. She claimed she was ensuring community safety and had permission from the HOA to inspect properties. Her lawyer tried to make me look unstable, calling me a neighbor who built a trap in his own home. She even cried out, "He locked me up like an animal," while dabbing her eyes with tissues like she was performing for an audience. For a moment, I worried the act might actually work, until my footage was presented. Every smug look, every illegal entry, every threat toward my spider played in front of the jury. They saw everything clearly. The judge leaned back unimpressed and said, "Mrs. Karen, this is not community oversight. This is criminal trespassing." Her lawyer tried to argue, but it was pointless. The decision was already clear. Karen was sentenced to 1 month in county jail. Not a long sentence, but enough to mark her as the HOA president who ended up locked in a cage like a rat. As I walked out of the courtroom, I felt like I had just won a championship fight. The entire neighborhood talked about it for weeks. Karen's control was gone. My spider was safe, and my revenge felt perfect. The end. Make sure to like and subscribe for more HOA drama like this. Do you think she got what she deserved? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story and want to support the channel, tap the super thanks button below. It helps us keep bringing you more HOA chaos.